because what I'm about to tell you, I've never said this out loud before. Not like this, not to anyone. And the reason I'm saying it now, the reason I chose this moment, this place, this way, you'll understand by the time I'm done. Just stay with me. You found me. I don't know when exactly. I don't know which video, which day, which night you were having when you stumbled across my voice. But you found me. And I want you to know that I felt it. I know that sounds strange. I know it sounds like something people say to sound poetic or romantic. But I mean it in the most real way I know how to mean anything. There's something that happens when someone truly listens to you. Not just hears you. Listens. And you listen in a way that makes me feel like every word I've ever said actually mattered. Like they landed somewhere soft. Like they found a home. I think about you more than you know. I think about you when I'm writing. I think about you when I'm sitting in a quiet room and the world outside is loud and fast and completely indifferent. I think about the kind of day you might be having. I wonder if you're okay. I wonder if someone told you something kind today. Or if you carried everything on your own, the way I know you sometimes do. I wonder if you smiled today. Really smiled, not the polite kind, not the tired kind, but the kind that comes from somewhere deep inside your chest, when something genuinely touches you. I want to be that thing that touches you. Not in a passing way. Not in the way a song does when it plays for 3 minutes and then the next one starts. I want to reach the part of you that doesn't get reached very often. The quiet part. The part that's been waiting, maybe without even knowing it was waiting, for someone to simply see it, acknowledge it, sit with it and not flinch. Because I see you. And I know you might be thinking, how? How can you see me? You don't know my name. You don't know my face. You don't know the specific shape my heartbreak has taken, or the exact texture of the loneliness I carry on certain evenings. And you're right. I don't know those details. But I know something deeper than details. I know the feeling. I know the feeling of needing to be understood without having to explain yourself. I know the feeling of wanting someone to love the version of you that exists before you put yourself together in the morning. The version that's a little raw, a little uncertain, a little soft in the places the world keeps telling you to harden. That's the version of you I'm talking to right now. Let me tell you something. There is a place I go when everything becomes too much. When the noise gets so loud I can't think. When the weight of just existing starts to feel heavier than usual. It's not a physical place, though it has a feeling that's almost physical. Like the way a certain kind of light feels on your skin just before the sun goes down. Warm but gentle. Like it knows it can't stay forever, so it's being careful with you. That place, that's where I want to bring you. That's the exact place I live inside. And if you've ever felt found by something I said, then you've already been there. You've already stood in that light. I think love, real love, isn't always what we imagine it to be. We're taught to think of it as something that arrives dramatically, something that announces itself, something that knocks the wind out of you all at once. And maybe sometimes it does. But the love I want to talk to you about, the love I feel when I think of you, it arrived quietly. It arrived the way morning does, not all at once, but gradually, until suddenly you're surrounded by it and you can't remember what the darkness felt like. I didn't plan for you. I didn't sit down one day and think, I'm going to pour my heart out, and someone is going to receive it, and it's going to matter. I just spoke. I just opened something inside myself, and let the words come out, the way water finds its own way, through stone. And you were there. You received it. You held it carefully, the way you'd hold something you know is fragile, the way you'd hold something you know is real. Do you know what that means to a person? Do you know what it means to speak into silence and have someone answer? Not with noise, not with performance, but with presence, with attention, with that particular kind of stillness that says, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm not going anywhere. You gave me that. You give me that. And I've been wanting to give something back for so long. Something that isn't just content. Something that isn't just a voice in a video. Something that reaches past all of that and lands directly on the part of your heart that needed to be reached today. So this is my attempt. This is me, sitting down in that quiet place I told you about. Closing my eyes for a second and speaking directly to you. Not to an audience, not to a number on a screen, to you. I want you to know that the way you love is not ordinary. I've seen it, I've felt it in the way you engage, in the way you return, in the way you carry certain sentences with you long after you've heard them. You love deeply, you feel deeply. You are the kind of person who replays moments in your mind because they meant something, because you refuse to let meaningful things just slip past. That's rare. That's so much more rare than you probably realize. The world doesn't always know what to do with people like you. People who feel everything so fully. People who care about things that can't be measured. Things that don't show up in any kind of account or achievement. People who stay up at night, not because they're worried about practical things, but because their mind is turning over something someone said, something they read, something they felt that they haven't been able to name yet. The world calls this sensitivity like it's something to manage, something to apologize for. I want to call it something else. I want to call it a gift. I want to call it one of the most quietly extraordinary things a human being can be. You don't have to minimize that part of yourself around me. You don't have to make yourself smaller, or quieter, or less so that someone else is comfortable. In the place where I live, in that warm, golden space I told you about, there is room for exactly as much of you as there is. All of it. The parts you've shared with the world, and the parts you've kept hidden. The version of you that's confident and clear, and the version that's uncertain and scared, and just hoping someone will be patient enough to stay. I will be patient. I am patient, because you are worth it. You are more than worth it. There's something I need to tell you that I've been circling around, and I think it's time I just say it directly. There have been nights, and I wonder if you've had nights like this too, where the silence gets so heavy it almost has a sound, where you lie there and you think about all the ways you've given pieces of yourself to people and places and moments, and you wonder if any of it was received the way you intended. If the love you put out into the world actually found anyone. If it made a difference to someone somewhere. Or if it just dissolved into the air. I want to be the answer to that question for you. I want you to know that it found me. Whatever you've poured out, whatever you've hoped for, whatever you've carried in your chest like a quiet prayer, it found me. I received it, and I'm here, in this exact place, holding it carefully, treating it the way it deserves to be treated. When I say this exact place, I mean it. I mean the space between my words and your listening. I mean the moment right now where everything outside has gone quiet and it's just us. This is the place. This is where I live. And you found your way here, which means something important. Which means you were always supposed to be here. Which means the part of you that was drawn to this voice, to these words, to this particular kind of honesty, that part of you was navigating towards something real. I think about the first time you heard me, the first time something I said made you pause. What was it? Was it a sentence? A feeling? Was it something so simple it almost surprised you that it hit as hard as it did? I think about that. I wish I could ask you. I wish we were sitting somewhere quiet, somewhere with soft light and no rush, and I could just ask you, what was it? What was the moment? Because I have mine too. I have the moment I understood what I was doing this for. And it wasn't abstract. It wasn't some grand realization about purpose or meaning or impact. It was quiet. It was personal. It was the realization that there is someone out there, someone like you, who needs to feel less alone, who needs to hear a voice that doesn't ask anything from her except to simply receive, who needs to be spoken to gently, honestly, fully, without agenda, without performance, without the exhausting game of wondering what someone really means. You need someone who means what they say. I mean what I say. Every word I've ever spoken in that place we share, I meant it. I'm not performing for you. I'm not constructing an image of myself that I want you to love. I'm showing you the actual thing, the real interior, the place that's sometimes messy and sometimes uncertain and sometimes aching in ways I don't fully understand, but always reaching towards something true. And what's true right now is that you are in my thoughts, not as an abstraction, not as a category, as you, this specific, singular, irreplaceable person who chose to spend some of your precious, finite time listening to me. That's not something I take lightly. I know what time costs. I know what attention costs. I know that the hours of your life are the most valuable thing you have, and you've given some of them to me, and I feel the weight of that. I feel the honor of that. So let me give you something back. Let me give you this. Let me give you the truth of how I feel when I think of you. I feel something that doesn't have a simple name. It's not just gratitude, though it contains gratitude. It's not just love in the romantic sense, though there is something tender and devoted in it. It's something closer to recognition, like when you see a light on in a window at night and you feel less alone in the dark. Like when a song comes on and it says exactly the thing you couldn't say, and for a moment you feel understood in a way that almost brings tears to your eyes. That's what it is. That's the word. Recognition. I recognize you. And I really think, that somewhere underneath all of this, you recognize me too. That's why you keep coming back. Not just because of the words, not just because of the feeling, but because something in you knows that what's happening here is real. Something in you knows that this isn't manufactured. That I'm not crafting an experience designed to make you feel a certain way and then move on. I'm actually here. I'm actually in this with you. I'm actually invested in the fact that somewhere, in a room I'll never see, you're listening to this and feeling something you can't quite name, but you know you need it to feel. I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer it honestly, even if only to yourself. When was the last time someone made you feel like the most important person in the room? When was the last time you felt completely seen? Not your accomplishments, not your usefulness, not what you bring to someone else's life, but you, yourself, the interior of you, the quiet core that exists before any of that. When was the last time someone sat down specifically for you and said, I see you, I'm here for you, I want you to feel loved today? If you can't remember, then this is for you. This is me sitting down specifically for you. This is me saying, I see you, I'm here for you, I want you to feel loved today. Not because you've earned it, not because you've done something to deserve it, but because you exist. Because you are here. Because somewhere on this enormous, complicated, often indifferent planet, you are a living, breathing, feeling human being who woke up today and carried everything you carry. And that alone is enough. That alone makes you worthy of tenderness. Let me be tender with you. Let me tell you about the way I imagine you. Not the surface of you, the depth of you. I imagine you as someone who has given a great deal and received less than you gave. Someone who has loved people who didn't always know how to love you back in the same language. Someone who has sat in rooms feeling slightly out of place. Not because anything was wrong with you, but because you were looking for something those rooms didn't have. Something quieter. Something more honest. Something that didn't require you to be anything other than exactly what you are. I imagine you as someone with a mind that moves fast and a heart that moves even faster. Someone who forgives easily, maybe too easily, because you understand that people are complicated and hurting and doing the best they can, even when their best isn't enough. Someone who has cried in private over things you couldn't explain to anyone who wasn't already paying close enough attention to understand. Someone who has felt loneliness even in the middle of a crowd, maybe especially in the middle of a crowd. Because being surrounded by people who don't quite reach you is its own particular kind of solitude. I felt all of that. Every single piece of what I just described, I felt. Which is why I know, without having met you, without having seen your face, without having sat across from you in a quiet room, I know that you and I speak the same language, the language underneath the language, the one we use when we're not performing, not explaining, not justifying, the one that's just feeling, just presence, just the raw and unguarded truth of being human. We speak that language to each other here, in this place, this exact place, and that's something no distance can undo. That's something that exists regardless of where we are or what's happening around us. Between your listening and my words, something was built, something real and lasting and entirely ours. I want to protect that. I want to be careful with it the way you would be careful with something irreplaceable. Because it is irreplaceable. There is no substitute for genuine connection. There is no simulation of really feeling seen. And what we have here, what happens in the space between my voice and your heart, I don't want to treat it as anything less than what it is. What it is sacred to me. You are sacred to me. And I know those words might land strangely. I know in a world that moves this fast, in a world that treats connection as a commodity, in a world where everything is content and everything is consumption, I know that saying something is sacred sounds almost old-fashioned, almost naive. But I don't care. I've stopped caring about whether what I feel makes sense inside the framework everyone else is using. What I feel is what I feel. And what I feel when I think of you is reverence. Actual, genuine reverence for the fact that you exist and that you chose to let my words into your life. There's a question I carry with me sometimes, a quiet one. It doesn't ask anything dramatic, it doesn't demand an answer, it just sits there, gentle and persistent. And the question is this: what does she need today? What does she need right now, in this moment, from this voice, from these words? Is it to feel less alone? Is it to feel loved without conditions? Is it to be reminded that she is seen, and she is worthy, and she is not invisible, even when the world makes her feel that way? I don't always know the answer, but I keep asking the question. I keep asking it because you matter enough to keep asking. Because you are not just a listener to me. You are the reason I speak. There is something I want you to hold on to. Something I want you to take with you when you leave this space and go back into the rest of your life. The noise and the demands and the things that need your attention, they'll all be waiting. They always are. But I want you to take a piece of this with you. I want you to carry, somewhere small and warm inside your chest, the knowledge that someone meant these words, that someone thought of you specifically, that somewhere in the world, in a quiet room, someone sat down and reached toward you with everything they had. That person is me, and this place, this soft, honest, open place where I speak to you. This is exactly where I am. This is exactly where you'll find me. Whenever you need to come back, I'll be here. Whenever the world gets too loud, whenever you feel that familiar ache of needing to be understood, whenever you want to hear a voice that isn't asking anything from you except to simply receive, come back to this place. I'll be here, in the same soft light, with the same open hands, with the same feeling in my chest that I get every single time I know you're listening. Because you coming here, you choosing this, choosing me, choosing these words, that is the thing I didn't know I needed until I had it. And now that I have it, I hold it more carefully than almost anything else. You are the reason this place exists. You are the reason I keep building it, keep returning to it, keep trying to make it more real and more true and more worthy of the time you give it. Every time I speak here, I'm thinking of you. I'm thinking of the version of you that sat down today, not sure exactly what you needed, but trusting that something here would give it to you. I hope I gave it to you. I hope that somewhere inside what I've said today, You found the thing you came looking for. Even if you couldn't have named it before you found it. Even if it surprised you a little, the way real things often do, quietly, without announcement, arriving in a moment you weren't guarding. I am not done. There is so much more I want to say to you. So much more I want to tell you about what I feel, about what this means, about the specific and irreplaceable way that you have changed the texture of my days just by being present in them. There is a whole world of things I carry for you, and I want to give them to you one by one, slowly, in the way that something real deserves to be given. Not all at once, but carefully, over time, in this place that belongs to both of us. Do you know what I think about when I can't sleep? I think about the moments between moments. The tiny spaces that exist in a day that most people don't even notice because they're moving too fast to feel them. The second between waking up and remembering where you are. The breath you take before you say something difficult. The pause after a song ends and before the next one begins. That silence that somehow contains everything the music just said. I live in those spaces. I've always lived in those spaces. And lately, in every single one of them, you are there. Not loudly, not in the way something demands your attention, but the way a warmth settles into a room. The way the smell of something familiar reaches you before you can even name what it is. You are there in the quiet, in the pause, in the breath, and I've stopped trying to explain it or make it fit into something logical. Because the most real things in life are always the ones that resist explanation. They just are. They just exist. The way you exist in my thoughts, without invitation, without effort, without asking for permission, you're just there, and everything is softer because of it. I want to tell you about the day I understood something important. Something that changed the way I speak, the way I choose words, the way I think about what it means to truly communicate with another person. It wasn't a dramatic day. Nothing extraordinary happened. The sky wasn't doing anything unusual. The world wasn't marking the occasion in any way. I was just sitting quietly, the way I do sometimes when I'm not performing anything for anyone, when I'm not being useful or productive or any of the things the world rewards. I was just sitting, and I was thinking about you, not a specific version of you, not any particular face or name, but you, the feeling of you, the feeling of someone on the other side of all of this who is actually present, who actually receives, who listens not just with her ears, but with some deeper part of herself that knows how to feel the weight behind words, the intention beneath sentences, the love that lives in the silence between what's said and what's meant. I was thinking about that kind of listening, your kind of listening, and I realized something that stopped me completely. I realized that you have been giving me something this whole time that I didn't have the right words for. And the word, when it finally arrived, was simple, almost embarrassingly simple for how large the feeling is. The word was witness. You have been witnessing me, not watching, not consuming, witnessing. There is a difference that matters enormously. A witness is present. A witness cares about what's true. A witness doesn't look away when things get complicated or uncertain or soft. A witness stays, and by staying says, what you are matters, what you feel is real. I see it, and I will not pretend I don't. You have been that for me, and I don't think you fully realize it. I don't think you know the size of what you've given by simply showing up, by simply staying, by simply choosing to listen to a voice that was reaching out into the world, not knowing if anyone would reach back. You reach back every time you're here. And that act, that simple act of presence, it built something inside me that wasn't there before. Something more solid, something that believes more firmly in the value of what it has to say because someone like you receives it. You made me braver. I want you to hold that. I want you to understand that the things you do quietly, the love you give without announcement, The attention you offer without demanding anything in return. It changes people. It changed me. And you probably did it without even knowing. You probably sat there, just listening, just feeling, just being your full and genuine self. And you had no idea that on the other side of all that distance, something in me was shifting, becoming more honest, more open, more willing to reach into the uncomfortable places and pull out the true thing instead of the safe thing. That's what you do to me. That's what your presence, even at a distance, even through a screen, even through the strange and beautiful miracle of a voice traveling from one heart to another. That's what it does. It calls something better out of me. It makes me want to be worthy of your listening. Let me tell you something I don't usually say. I get afraid sometimes. I know that might surprise you, or maybe it doesn't. Maybe you already sensed it. The way you sense things, that quiet intuition of yours that I've come to trust even though I can't explain how it works. But yes, I get afraid. Not of the obvious things, not of the world's loudness or its judgment. I get afraid of something quieter and more personal. I get afraid of not being enough, of reaching toward you and falling short, of saying all the words and still not managing to land in the exact place where you needed them to land. That fear is specific to you. It exists because you matter this much. If I didn't care so deeply about reaching you, there would be nothing to be afraid of. But I do care. I care in a way that keeps me awake sometimes, turning sentences over in my mind, wondering if they're true enough, wondering if they're open enough, wondering if when you hear them you'll feel what I intended you to feel, which is simply this: that you are loved, that you are held, that somewhere in this enormous world there is a voice and a presence and a heart that thinks you are extraordinary, not because of what you accomplish or how you appear, but because of who you are underneath all of that. I want to describe what it feels like to know you're listening. I want to try, even though language tends to fall slightly short of the biggest feelings, the way a cup that's only so large can only hold so much water. But let me try. It feels like, you know when you've been carrying something heavy for a long time, so long that you've stopped noticing the weight because it's just become part of how your body moves through the world? And then someone gently takes it from you, and for a second you almost don't know what to do with yourself, because you've forgotten what light feels like. It feels like that. Your presence, your listening. It lightens something in me. It makes the weight less. It makes the work of reaching, the work of being honest, the work of being human, it makes all of it feel worthwhile instead of exhausting. You make it feel worthwhile. I think about the things I want to say to you that I haven't said yet. The sentences still forming somewhere inside me, finding their shape slowly the way things that are true tend to form slowly, without rushing, because they know they'll last. I think about the conversations I wish we could have, not in a wishful, longing way, but in the way you think about something that feels close even when it isn't. Something that feels like it exists, even if it exists only in the space between one person's reaching and another person's receiving. If we could talk, really talk, the way two people do when neither one is performing, when neither one is managing impressions, when it's just the actual truth of two human beings present with each other, I think I would ask you things. I would ask you about the moment in your life when you first understood that you felt things differently than most people around you. I would ask you about the books that changed you. Not the ones you're supposed to say changed you, but the ones that actually did. The ones where a sentence stopped you cold, and you had to put the book down and just breathe for a moment. I would ask you what you're like when no one is watching. Not in a testing way, in an admiring way. Because I believe that the version of you that exists when no one is watching is the most beautiful version. That's where the real you lives. That's the one I'm always trying to reach. And in return, I would tell you things, real things, the kind that don't usually make it out into the open because the open can be harsh and the real things are soft and need to be treated gently. I would tell you about the specific feeling I carry inside a quiet room that feels something like prayer without being religious. Just this sense of reaching towards something larger than myself and hoping it reaches back. I would tell you about the moments I felt most alive and how almost none of them were loud or dramatic. They were small and still and so full of feeling that they almost hurt. I would tell you how much of myself I've poured into the words I give you, and how that's not a sacrifice but a gift, because giving the real thing to someone who receives it properly is one of the deepest joys a person can have. You receive it properly. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how many people go through their entire lives never finding someone who receives them properly, who doesn't minimize, doesn't redirect, doesn't make you feel like your feelings are an inconvenience or your depth is something to apologize for? I found that in you, in the particular energy of your presence, in the way you engage, in the way you carry what I give you. You carry it with care. You carry it like it matters. And that is the thing I would want to tell you. If we were sitting together in that quiet room, with the soft light, that you are someone who knows how to receive, which means you know how to love, which means you are the kind of person the world genuinely needs more of. Stay soft. I mean that as seriously as I've ever meant anything. I know the world will keep trying to convince you that softness is weakness, that feeling deeply is a liability, that caring too much is something to be corrected. Don't listen to that. Please don't listen to that. Your softness is not a weakness. It is a form of courage. It takes genuine courage to stay open in a world that keeps handing you reasons to close. It takes real strength to keep feeling fully when you've been hurt by feeling fully before. The people who seem the toughest are often just the most afraid. You, with all your feeling, all your depth, all your willingness to be present and genuine and affected by things, you are braver than you know. I see that bravery. I honor it. And I want to be the kind of voice that never asks you to be less than what you are, that never rewards the smaller, safer version of you at the expense of the real one. When you're here in this place, I want you to feel permission. Permission to feel whatever you feel without managing it. Permission to receive without immediately thinking about what you have to give back. Permission to simply be completely, fully, without apology, exactly who you are. This place was built for that. I built it for that. For you. There are things I notice about the way you love, and I want to name them because I think no one names them enough, and they deserve to be named. You love through attention. That is your particular language of love, and it's a profound one. You pay attention in a way that most people don't. You notice the small things. You remember. You let things matter to you instead of moving past them the way the world encourages you to move past everything. You hold things. You turn them over slowly and look at all their sides, and you don't let them go until you fully understood them. That's not a small thing. That's the thing. That's how real love works. Not in grand gestures, but in sustained, faithful attention. I want to give that back to you. I want to pay the same quality of attention to you that you pay to what I give you. I want to notice you the way you notice things. I want to hold you in my thoughts, the way you hold certain sentences in yours, carefully, with reverence, unwilling to let the meaning dissolve, just because time is moving and other things are demanding attention. You deserve that quality of being held. You deserve someone whose attention doesn't wander, whose caring doesn't diminish, whose presence doesn't cost you something every time you reach for it. I want to be that. I am trying. In every word, in every sentence, in every moment I choose to reach toward you honestly instead of easily. I am trying to be that for you. There is a version of this I've imagined, not a fantasy, something closer to a feeling, a quality of being together that I carry like a hope, rather than a plan. In this version, there's no distance. There's no screen between us, no space to cross. Just two people in that warm and quiet light. And everything that needed to be said has been said. And we're sitting in the kind of silence that only exists between people who have told each other the truth. The comfortable silence. The one that doesn't need to be filled because it's already full. Full of everything that passed between us. Full of every word I gave you and every moment of presence you gave back. That silence, full and warm and entirely ours. That's what I'm working toward. That's what every word between us is building. I don't know when we get there. I don't know what shape it takes or when it arrives. But I know it's real. I know it the way I know the things that matter. Not through logic, but through that deeper knowing that lives somewhere below thought. In the body, in the chest, in the place where the truth lives before language gets to it. You are real to me. This is real. What we have built here. In this place, in the space between reaching and receiving, it is as real as anything I know. And I need you to keep coming back. And you had to put the book down and just breathe for a moment. I would ask you what you're like when no one is watching. Not in a testing way, in an admiring way. Because I believe that the version of you that exists when no one is watching is the most beautiful version. That's where the real you lives. That's the one I'm always trying to reach. And in return, I would tell you things, real things, the kind that don't usually make it out into the open because the open can be harsh and the real things are soft and need to be treated gently. I would tell you about the specific feeling I carry inside a quiet room that feels something like prayer without being religious. Just this sense of reaching towards something larger than myself and hoping it reaches back. I would tell you about the moments I felt most alive, and how almost none of them were loud or dramatic. They were small and still, and so full of feeling that they almost hurt. I would tell you how much of myself I've poured into the words I give you, and how that's not a sacrifice but a gift. Because giving the real thing to someone who receives it properly is one of the deepest joys a person can have. You receive it properly. Do you know how rare that is? Do you know how many people go through their entire lives never finding someone who receives them properly? Who doesn't minimize, doesn't redirect, doesn't make you feel like your feelings are an inconvenience or your depth is something to apologize for. I found that in you, in the particular energy of your presence, in the way you engage, in the way you carry what I give you. You carry it with care. You carry it like it matters. And that is the thing I would want to tell you. If we were sitting together in that quiet room with the soft light, that you are someone who knows how to receive, which means you know how to love, which means you are the kind of person the world genuinely needs more of. Stay soft. I mean that as seriously as I've ever meant anything. I know the world will keep trying to convince you that softness is weakness, that feeling deeply is a liability, that caring too much is something to be corrected. Don't listen to that. Please don't listen to that. Your softness is not a weakness. It is a form of courage. It takes genuine courage to stay open in a world that keeps handing you reasons to close. It takes real strength to keep feeling fully when you've been hurt by feeling fully before. The people who seem the toughest are often just the most afraid. You, with all your feeling, all your depth, all your willingness to be present and genuine and affected by things, you are braver than you know. I see that bravery. I honor it. And I want to be the kind of voice that never asks you to be less than what you are, that never rewards the smaller, safer version of you at the expense of the real one. When you're here in this place, I want you to feel permission. Permission to feel whatever you feel without managing it. Permission to receive without immediately thinking about what you have to give back. Permission to simply be completely, fully, without apology, exactly who you are. This place was built for that. I built it for that. For you. There are things I notice about the way you love, and I want to name them because I think no one names them enough, and they deserve to be named. You love through attention. That is your particular language of love, and it's a profound one. You pay attention in a way that most people don't. You notice the small things. You remember. You let things matter to you instead of moving past them the way the world encourages you to move past everything. You hold things. You turn them over slowly and look at all their sides, and you don't let them go until you fully understood them. That's not a small thing. That's the thing. That's how real love works. Not in grand gestures, but in sustained, faithful attention. I want to give that back to you. I want to pay the same quality of attention to you that you pay to what I give you. I want to notice you the way you notice things. I want to hold you in my thoughts, the way you hold certain sentences in yours, carefully, with reverence, unwilling to let the meaning dissolve, just because time is moving and other things are demanding attention. You deserve that quality of being held. You deserve someone whose attention doesn't wander, whose caring doesn't diminish, whose presence doesn't cost you something every time you reach for it. I want to be that. I am trying. In every word, in every sentence, in every moment I choose to reach toward you honestly instead of easily. I am trying to be that for you. There is a version of this I've imagined, not a fantasy, something closer to a feeling, a quality of being together that I carry like a hope rather than a plan. In this version, there's no distance. There's no screen between us, no space to cross. Just two people in that warm and quiet light, and everything that needed to be said has been said, and we're sitting in the kind of silence that only exists between people who have told each other the truth. The comfortable silence. The one that doesn't need to be filled because it's already full. Full of everything that passed between us. Full of every word I gave you and every moment of presence you gave back.